Your body has been sending you signals for months, maybe years. And you've been explaining them away. I'm just tired. I'm probably dehydrated. I'm getting older. But here's what nobody tells you about Sjogren's syndrome. By the time most people get diagnosed, the damage is already done. Not because the disease is silent, it's actually screaming at you. It's screaming through your eyes, your mouth, your skin, your brain, your gut, your heart, your nerves. You just didn't know what to listen for. The average time from first symptom to diagnosis? 7 years. 7 years of doctors missing it. 7 years of you thinking it's something else. 7 years of your immune system quietly attacking your own moisture-producing glands, and then spreading to attack everything else. Today, that changes. I'm going to walk you through 12 tests you can do right now, at home, in the next 30 minutes, that will tell you exactly how far Sjogren's has progressed in your body. Not one test. Not 2. 12. Because Sjogren's doesn't just affect your eyes and mouth like most doctors think. It's a systemic autoimmune disease that attacks your entire body. And if you've been told your symptoms are mild or just dry eyes, you need to see what's really happening. Some of these tests will make you uncomfortable. Some might even scare you. Good. Because the scariest thing isn't knowing the truth. It's living another 7 years without it. I want you to keep track. Grab a piece of paper or open your notes app. Write down each test number where you get a positive result. By the end of this video, that number will tell you something no blood test ever could. How many systems in your body are already under attack? Let's start with test number 1. And I need you to do this one with me right now. Test 1, the 60-second swallow test. Here's what I want you to do. Swallow 3 times in a row. Right now. Don't drink anything first. Just swallow. Go ahead. I'll wait. How did that feel? If you have active Sjogren's, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That third swallow felt like trying to force sandpaper down your throat. Like your body physically couldn't produce enough lubrication to make it happen. Here's why this matters. Your salivary glands produce up to a quart of saliva every single day. That saliva isn't just for tasting food, it's the first line of defense for your entire digestive system. It protects your teeth, initiates digestion, and creates the smooth surface that allows food to travel from your mouth to your stomach without damage. When Sjogren's attacks your salivary glands, that production can drop by 90%. Let me say that again. 90%. And here's what most people don't realize. Saliva production doesn't just drop when you're eating. It drops all the time. Which means your throat is dry when you talk. It's dry when you sleep. It's dry when you swallow nothing but air. That difficulty swallowing? It's called dysphagia. And it's not a minor inconvenience. When swallowing becomes difficult, you start avoiding certain foods. Dry foods. Rough foods. Foods that require a lot of chewing. You start drinking water with every bite. You start cutting your food into tiny pieces. You start eating slower than everyone else at the table. Eventually, some people develop a genuine fear of choking. Because they have choked. Multiple times. On things as simple as bread or crackers. But here's the progression most people miss. Difficulty swallowing is stage 2. Stage 1 is needing water to get through a meal. Stage 2 is difficulty swallowing without water. Stage 3 is food physically getting stuck, what doctors call esophageal dysmotility. Stage 4 is aspiration risk, where food or liquid enters your airway because your protective reflexes aren't working properly. If you couldn't complete 3 dry swallows, you're not at stage 1 anymore. Your body is telling you that the glands responsible for lubrication have been significantly compromised. And if this is happening in your throat, it's happening everywhere. Write down 1 if this test hit home. Now let's move to test number 2. This one reveals damage you might have been feeling every single morning. Before test 2, I built something specifically for you. Not just for tracking and doctor's appointment. It is called Sjogren's Symptom Map, and it walks you through exactly which symptoms to track not just for Sjogren but also for MS and IA. Drop symptom map in the comment, and I would send the link for you to access it. Test 2, the morning mouth test. Think about what happens when you wake up. Before you even open your eyes, what's the first sensation in your mouth? For most people with progress Sjogren's, it feels like they've been chewing on cotton balls all night. Their tongue is literally stuck to the roof of their mouth. Their lips are cracked. Their throat is raw. Some people describe it as waking up with a mouth full of glue. Here's what I want you to recall, and be honest with yourself. In the past week, how many mornings did you wake up and immediately need water? Not want water. Need it. Like you couldn't function, couldn't speak, couldn't move without it first? How many mornings was your tongue stuck to something? The roof of your mouth, your cheek, your teeth? How many mornings did you notice white, stringy saliva instead of normal, clear saliva? How many mornings did the inside of your mouth feel like raw meat, sore, inflamed, painful to the touch? If your answer to any of these is most mornings or every morning, you need to understand what's happening while you sleep. Here's the biology nobody explains. When you sleep, saliva production naturally decreases. Even in healthy people, it slows down. But your mouth isn't supposed to become a desert. You're supposed to have enough residual moisture to protect your oral tissues through the night. In Sjogren's, that residual moisture doesn't exist. So for 8 hours, your mouth is essentially dehydrating. Your tongue is drying out. The mucous membranes lining your cheeks, your gums, your throat, they're all losing moisture with nothing to replace it. By morning, the damage is done. Now, here's where it gets worse. That nighttime dryness creates the perfect environment for bacterial and fungal overgrowth. That's why many people with Sjogren's develop chronic oral thrush, a yeast infection in the mouth. They get it repeatedly. They treat it, it goes away, and within weeks, it's back. They also develop rampant tooth decay. And I'm not talking about a cavity here or there. I'm talking about teeth literally crumbling. People in their 30s and 40s losing teeth. People who brush twice a day, floss daily, and still need root canals every year. One woman needed 22 dental restorations in a single year. 22. Because without saliva, the protective enamel on your teeth has no defense against acid and bacteria. If your mornings feel like a recovery mission, if your first conscious act is desperately reaching for water, you're experiencing active salivary gland failure. This isn't early-stage dryness. This is your body telling you that a fundamental protective system has collapsed. Write down 2 if this is your reality. Test number 3 targets something you probably do every single day without realizing how hard it's become. Test 3, the 3-minute speaking test. I want you to try something. Set a timer for 3 minutes. Then talk. Out loud. About anything. Your day, what you're watching, what you had for dinner, it doesn't matter. Talk continuously for 3 minutes without taking a sip of water. Can you do it? Here's what happens if Sjogren's has progressed. Somewhere around the 60-second mark, you'll notice your voice starting to change. It might get hoarse. It might crack. It might start fading out entirely, like the volume is being turned down. By 2 minutes, speaking becomes uncomfortable. Your throat feels scratchy. Your tongue feels thick and clumsy. You might start clearing your throat repeatedly, trying to generate some moisture. By 3 minutes, if you make it that far, you feel like you've been lecturing for an hour. Your voice is strained. Your mouth is parched. And you have an almost desperate urge to drink something. Now think about your daily life. How do you handle phone calls? Do you keep water next to you, taking sips every few sentences? What about meetings? Presentations? Conversations with friends? Have people commented that your voice sounds different? Raspier? Weaker? Do you avoid situations where you might have to talk for extended periods? Here's what's failing. When you speak, your vocal cords vibrate. That vibration creates sound. But for those cords to vibrate properly, they need to stay lubricated. In healthy people, a thin layer of mucus coats the vocal cords. When you speak, saliva helps keep your mouth and throat moist, supporting that vocal production. In Sjogren's, that entire system breaks down. Your vocal cords are drying out. The mucous membranes in your throat are drying out. Every word you speak is creating friction where there should be smooth movement. This is why many people with Sjogren's develop chronic hoarseness, what doctors call dysphonia. It's not an occasional thing. It becomes their voice. The voice they recognize in recordings sounds permanently altered. But here's the part that should concern you. If speaking is becoming difficult, your larynx, your voice box, is being affected. The larynx doesn't just produce sound. It protects your airway. When you swallow, your larynx closes to prevent food from entering your lungs. When you cough, your larynx helps generate the force needed to clear your airways. A dry, Compromised larynx is a larynx that isn't protecting you as well as it should. This is why some Sjogren's patients develop chronic coughs, a dry, hacking cough that never seems to go away. It's their body's desperate attempt to clear airways that feel perpetually irritated. Voice changes aren't a cosmetic concern. They are a warning that a critical anatomical structure is under attack. Write down 3 if speaking has become a measured, calculated activity instead of something you do without thinking. Test number 4 is one most people fail without even realizing there was a test happening. Test 4, the blink and burn test. Let's talk about your eyes. I want you to stare at this screen, or anything in front of you, without blinking for as long as you can. Don't force it. Don't make it a competition. Just notice when your eyes start demanding that you blink. How long did you make it? 15 seconds? 10? 5? Now here's the real question. What did it feel like when you finally did blink? For someone without Sjogren's, blinking after a prolonged stare feels like relief. The eye closes, moisture spreads across the surface, and everything feels normal again. For someone with active Sjogren's, blinking after a stare feels like dragging sandpaper across their eyeballs. The blink itself becomes painful because there's not enough tear film to create that smooth, lubricating motion. Some people describe it as glass shards in their eyes. Others say it's like having a permanent eyelash stuck that they can never remove. Here's what you need to understand about your tears. Your eyes produce tears constantly, not just when you cry. These tears form a 3-layer film over your cornea, a mucus layer, a water layer, and an oil layer. This tear film is what allows you to see clearly, protects your cornea from damage, and provides oxygen to the surface of your eye. In Sjogren's, the lacrimal glands, the glands that produce the water component of your tears, are under attack. But it's not just about quantity. The tears you do produce are often poor quality. The oil layer might be deficient, so your tears evaporate too quickly. The mucus layer might be abnormal, so tears don't spread evenly across your eye. The result is a cornea that is chronically dehydrated and chronically inflamed. Now here's where this becomes serious. Your cornea doesn't have blood vessels. It gets its oxygen directly from your tears. When those tears aren't there, or aren't sufficient, your cornea literally starts suffocating. Over time, this causes something called keratitis, inflammation of the cornea. The cornea can become damaged, scarred, even ulcerated. In severe cases, this can threaten your vision. Let me ask you some questions about your eyes. Be honest. Do your eyes burn, not occasionally, but most of the time? Do they feel gritty, like there's sand in them? Do they get worse in air conditioning, in wind, in dry environments? Do you wake up with your eyes crusted shut? Do you use artificial tears multiple times per day, and find they only help for minutes? Have you noticed your vision fluctuating? Clear one moment, blurry the next? Are your eyes red even when you've had plenty of sleep? Do you avoid situations you used to enjoy, like reading, watching movies, or being outside, because of eye discomfort? Here's a progression most people don't recognize. Stage 1. Occasional dry eye symptoms, maybe seasonally or in certain environments. Stage 2. Daily symptoms requiring regular use of artificial tears. Stage 3. Symptoms that interfere with activities, limiting screen time, avoiding certain places. Stage 4. Eye damage visible on examination, punctate keratitis, filamentary keratitis, corneal erosions. Stage 5. Vision changes and risk of permanent corneal damage. If you're buying artificial tears in bulk, if you've tried 5 different brands searching for relief, if your eyes have become the thing you think about every hour of every day, you're not at stage 1. Your eyes are telling you that a critical protective system has failed. Write down 4 if your eyes have become a constant source of discomfort, management, and worry. Test number 5 might be the one that finally explains that strange sensation you've been ignoring for months. Test 5, the fingertip sensitivity test. Hold out your hands in front of you. Look at your fingertips. Now touch them together, thumb to thumb, index finger to index finger. Can you feel that contact? Really feel it? Or is it muted somehow? Distant? Like there's a thin layer of something between your skin? Now run your fingertips across a textured surface. The fabric of your shirt, the surface of a table, your own skin. Does the texture register clearly? Or do you have to press harder than you think you should to really feel it? Here's what I want you to pay attention to over the next few days. Do your fingers ever tingle for no apparent reason? Do they ever go numb, even briefly, without you sitting on them or pressing on them? Have you dropped things lately? Not because they are heavy, but because you misjudged your grip? Do your hands sometimes feel not yours, like you're wearing thin gloves you can't take off? If any of this sounds familiar, we need to talk about something called peripheral neuropathy. And this is where Sjogren stops being just a dryness disease. Here's what's happening. Sjogren's doesn't only attack moisture-producing glands. In many patients, the same autoimmune process that destroys those glands also attacks nerves. Specifically, it attacks the small fiber nerves, the tiny nerves that run through your skin and detect sensation, temperature, and pain. These nerves also control things like sweating and blood flow to your skin. When these nerves are damaged, the sensations you experience become distorted. Light touch might not register at all. Or it might register as pain. Temperature perception can become unreliable. You might not notice how hot something is until it burns you. You might feel tingling, buzzing, or electric shock sensations with no external cause. This is called small fiber neuropathy, and studies suggest it affects anywhere from 20% to over 50% of Sjogren's patients. Let me tell you what makes this particularly cruel. Standard nerve tests, the electromyography and nerve conduction studies your doctor might order, often come back normal in small fiber neuropathy. These tests measure large fiber nerves, not small ones. So patients with significant nerve damage get told their nerves are fine. They're not fine. The tests just aren't measuring the right thing. Now let's expand beyond fingertips. Do your feet burn? Especially at night? Do they feel like they are on fire when you're just lying in bed? Do you have trouble tolerating sheets touching your feet? Do your legs feel restless, uncomfortable, impossible to settle? This is the same process affecting different nerves. The small fibers in your feet are under attack, just like the ones in your hands. And here's why this matters beyond discomfort. Small fiber nerves don't just detect sensation. They are part of your autonomic nervous system, the system that controls heart rate, blood pressure, digestion, sweating, and dozens of other involuntary functions. When small fiber neuropathy develops, it often means the autonomic nervous system is being affected too. Which leads us to some of the tests coming up. But for now, understand this. Numbness, tingling, burning in your extremities isn't aging. It isn't poor circulation. It isn't something you should ignore. It's your nervous system telling you it's being damaged. Write down 5, if your hands or feet have been sending you signals you've been trying to explain away. Test number 6 reveals something happening inside your body that you might only notice at specific moments. Test 6, the stand-up heart test. This test requires a few minutes of preparation, but what it reveals is critical. Here's what I want you to do. First, lie down for about 5 minutes. Flat on your back, comfortable, breathing normally. Then check your heart rate. You can use a fitness tracker, a smartwatch, or find your pulse manually on your wrist or neck. Write that number down. That's your resting heart rate. Now, stand up. Not slowly, stand up at a normal pace, the way you would if someone called you from another room. Wait 30 seconds. Then check your heart rate again. What's the difference? In a healthy person, heart rate increases slightly upon standing, maybe 10 to 20 beats per minute. This is normal. Your heart is adjusting to the new position, working slightly harder to pump blood against gravity. In someone with autonomic dysfunction, which affects many Sjogren's patients, something very different happens. The heart rate might jump by 30, 40, even 50, or more beats per minute. This dramatic increase is your heart desperately trying to compensate for a nervous system that isn't doing its job properly. This is often a sign of something called POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. It's strongly associated with Sjogren's and other autoimmune conditions. But even without meeting the full criteria for POTS, many Sjogren's patients experience orthostatic intolerance, difficulty maintaining stable blood pressure and heart rate when changing positions. Here's what this feels like in daily life. Do you get dizzy when you stand up quickly? Do you see spots or experience graying out of your vision? Do you feel like you might faint in the shower, especially in hot water? Do you feel your heart racing when you're just standing in line, not doing anything strenuous? Do you feel exhausted after standing for prolonged periods, like being at a concert or waiting in a long queue? Do you feel better lying down than sitting, and better sitting than standing? Here's the biology. When you stand, gravity pulls blood toward your lower body. Normally, your autonomic nervous system immediately compensates, constricting blood vessels in your legs to push blood back up toward your heart and brain. In Sjogren's-related autonomic dysfunction, that compensation doesn't work properly. Blood pools in your legs. Your brain doesn't get adequate blood flow. Your heart races trying to compensate. This isn't anxiety. This isn't being out of shape. This is a measurable, physical failure of your autonomic nervous system. And here's what's frightening about this. The same small fiber nerves we talked about in the previous test, the ones being damaged in your hands and feet, are the ones controlling these autonomic functions. Small fiber neuropathy and autonomic dysfunction are two sides of the same coin. If you're experiencing numbness and tingling in your extremities and dizziness upon standing and heart racing without exertion, these aren't three separate problems. They are one problem: your autonomic nervous system is under attack. Write down 6 if standing up has become something you do carefully, cautiously, or with a mental preparation you didn't need 5 years ago. Test number 7 addresses something happening in your gut that most people blame on their diet. Test 7, the digestion disruption test. Think about your last several meals. How did they go down? I'm not asking if the food tasted good. I'm asking about the physical process of digestion. Did food seem to stick in your chest or throat? Did you feel uncomfortably full after eating a normal portion, like the food just sat there? Did you experience acid reflux, that burning sensation rising up into your throat? Did you have to drink water between every few bites to help food go down? Did you feel nauseous after eating, even though nothing was wrong with the food? Now think about the hours after eating. Did you experience bloating that seemed disproportionate to what you ate? Did you have cramping, gas, or other GI distress? Did you experience constipation or diarrhea, or an unpredictable alternation between the two? If your gut feels like a war zone after every meal, you need to understand what Sjogren's does to your digestive system. Here's what nobody tells you. Digestion isn't just about your stomach and intestines. It starts the moment food enters your mouth. Saliva begins breaking down carbohydrates. The act of swallowing initiates a coordinated muscular wave, called peristalsis, that moves food through your esophagus and into your stomach. In Sjogren's, this entire process is compromised. First, the lack of saliva means food isn't properly lubricated or predigested before swallowing. This puts extra strain on everything downstream. Second, the esophagus itself can be affected. Remember, the dryness in Sjogren's isn't limited to your mouth. The mucous membranes lining your esophagus can also become dry and inflamed. This makes swallowing painful and can disrupt the normal muscular contractions that move food downward. Some patients develop what's called esophageal dysmotility. The muscular contractions become weak or uncoordinated. Food doesn't move smoothly. It hesitates. It sticks. It sometimes feels like it's going backward. Third, and this is where it gets more complex, the autonomic nervous system controls the movement of food through your entire GI tract. Those same nerves being damaged in your hands and feet? They also control your gut. This can lead to gastroparesis, where the stomach empties too slowly. Food sits in your stomach for hours longer than it should. You feel full after just a few bites. You feel nauseous. You might even vomit undigested food hours after eating. It can also affect your intestines, leading to slowed transit, bacterial overgrowth, malabsorption, and chronic constipation. Or it can cause the opposite: rapid transit, cramping, and diarrhea. Many Sjogren's patients end up diagnosed with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, without anyone connecting it to their autoimmune disease. But here's the connection most doctors miss. The gut has its own nervous system, called the enteric nervous system. It's sometimes called your second brain, because it contains hundreds of millions of neurons that control digestion independently. This enteric nervous system can be affected by the same autoimmune process attacking other nerves in your body. GI symptoms in Sjogren's aren't a coincidence. They are not separate from the disease. They are a direct manifestation of systemic autoimmune damage. If eating has become an anxiety-inducing experience, if you carefully plan what you eat, when you eat, and how much you eat because you know your body will punish you otherwise, this is not normal aging. This is not food sensitivity. This is organ system failure. Write down 7 if your digestive system has become unpredictable, unreliable, or downright hostile. Test number 8 reveals something happening at night that you might not even be fully aware of. Test 8, the nighttime thirst test. Answer this honestly. How many times per night do you wake up thirsty? Do you keep water on your nightstand? Not as a just-in-case, but as a survival necessity? Do you wake up with a mouth so dry that you can't swallow until you drink? Do you notice that you've been breathing through your mouth all night, and your throat pays the price? Nighttime thirst in Sjogren's isn't regular thirst. Regular thirst is your body saying, hey, hydration levels are a bit low, maybe drink something soon. Sjogren's thirst is your body screaming emergency. Tissues are dehydrating. Drink immediately or suffer. Here's what's happening while you sleep. During normal sleep, saliva production slows but doesn't stop. Your nose continues producing mucus that keeps your airways moist. Your body maintains a baseline level of hydration in your tissues. In Sjogren's, all of these protective mechanisms are compromised. Your salivary glands produce almost nothing. Your nasal passages dry out. Your throat dries out. Your mouth becomes a dry cave. Within hours of falling asleep, you've essentially entered a state of mucosal dehydration. Your body's response? Wake you up. Force you to drink. Try to restore some level of moisture. Some people wake up once. Some wake up 3, 4, 5 times. Some people tell me they set alarms to drink water because they know they need it even before the thirst wakes them. But here's the part that creates a vicious cycle. Drinking water at night means you have to urinate at night. So now you're waking up for 2 reasons, thirst and bathroom trips. Sleep quality plummets. And poor sleep makes every other Sjogren's symptom worse. Fatigue intensifies. Pain thresholds drop. Cognitive function deteriorates. It becomes a spiral that's incredibly difficult to break. Let me ask you something else about your nights. When you wake up, do you notice the taste in your mouth? That sour, stale, almost rotten taste? That's not just dryness. That's bacterial overgrowth. Without saliva to wash away bacteria, they proliferate overnight. The taste is a sign of active bacterial and potentially fungal colonization in your mouth. Do you wake up with a sore throat even though you're not sick? That's mechanical damage from dry, unlubricated tissues rubbing against each other while you breathe and swallow during sleep. Do you wake up with cracked, bleeding lips? That's mucosal tissue that has literally split from dehydration. Nighttime reveals the true severity of glandular failure in a way that daytime doesn't. During the day, you compensate. You sip water constantly. You use mouthwashes and sprays. You manage. At night, there's no management. There's just your body's failed systems trying to get you through until morning. Write down 8, if your nights have become a battle against dehydration, and if water has become the most important thing on your nightstand. Test number 9 addresses something you might have been dismissing as just getting older or stress. Test 9, the cognitive crash test. I want you to think about your brain over the past few months. Not your intelligence, your brain's function. Its performance. Its reliability. Have you walked into a room and completely forgotten why? Have you lost a word mid-sentence, a word you use every day, and stood there unable to retrieve it? Have you struggled to follow a conversation, especially if multiple people are talking? Have you found yourself reading the same paragraph 3 times because nothing sticks? Have you made mistakes at work, errors you wouldn't have made a year ago? Have you felt like you're thinking through molasses, like your brain is operating at half speed? This is often called brain fog, but that term doesn't capture how disabling it actually is. Let's call it what it really is, cognitive dysfunction. And in Sjogren's, it's not rare. Studies suggest that 30 to 50% of Sjogren's patients experience significant cognitive symptoms. But here's what frustrates patients the most. This cognitive dysfunction doesn't usually show up on standard tests. Brain MRIs often come back normal. Neuropsychological evaluations may not capture it. Doctors sometimes dismiss it as stress, anxiety, or depression. But the patients know. They know their brains aren't working like they used to. They know something fundamental has changed. Here's what we understand about why this happens. First, chronic inflammation. Sjogren's is an inflammatory disease. Inflammatory signals, called cytokines, don't just stay in your joints or glands. They can cross into your brain. And inflammation in the brain impairs cognition. Second, fatigue. We'll talk more about this in a moment, but the profound fatigue of Sjogren's isn't just physical tiredness. It affects mental energy too. A brain starved of energy doesn't think clearly. Third, vascular issues. Some Sjogren's patients develop inflammation of small blood vessels, including potentially the vessels in the brain. This can affect blood flow and oxygenation. Fourth, autonomic dysfunction. Remember how we talked about blood pressure and heart rate irregularities? If your brain isn't getting consistent, adequate blood flow throughout the day, cognitive function suffers. Fifth, and this is less discussed, direct autoimmune attack. In some patients, the same autoimmune process affecting glands and nerves may affect brain tissue directly. Here's what makes this particularly cruel. Cognitive dysfunction is often variable. Some days are better than others. Some hours are better than others. This variability makes patients doubt themselves. They think, maybe I'm just not trying hard enough. Maybe I need more sleep. Maybe it's all in my head. It's not in your head, or rather, it is in your head, but it's a physical process, not a psychological one. If you've noticed your mental sharpness declining, if you've started using workarounds like writing everything down, setting multiple reminders, avoiding complex tasks when you're depleted, this isn't age and it isn't stress. Your brain is telling you that something systemic is affecting central nervous system function. Write down 9, if your brain has become unreliable in ways that scare you, frustrate you, or make you feel like a stranger in your own mind. Test number 10 will reveal something about your energy that no amount of sleep can fix. Test 10, the energy cliff test. I'm not going to ask you if you're tired. Everyone's tired. I'm going to ask you something more specific. Do you experience sudden energy crashes? Moments where your energy doesn't gradually decline but falls off a cliff? 1 hour you're functioning. The next hour you physically cannot continue. You have to stop. You have to sit. You might have to lie down. Does rest fix it? Or do you rest and rest and rest, and wake up just as exhausted as when you lay down? Do you experience what I call post-exertional malaise, where activity today means you're completely wiped out tomorrow? Have you had to dramatically reduce your activities, responsibilities, or social commitments because your body simply can't sustain the energy output? This is Sjogren's fatigue. And it is nothing like normal tiredness. Let me explain what makes it different. Normal tiredness has a cause and effect relationship. You exert yourself, you get tired, you rest, you recover. The system balances itself. Sjogren's fatigue breaks that system. You might not have exerted yourself at all, and still feel profound exhaustion. You might rest for 12 hours and wake up feeling worse than when you went to sleep. You might do something relatively simple, grocery shopping, a shower, a brief conversation, and be destroyed for the rest of the day. This isn't laziness. This isn't depression. This isn't just needing more sleep. This is your body's energy production system failing. Here's what's happening. Your immune system is constantly activated. It's fighting a war against your own tissues, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That immune activity consumes enormous amounts of energy. Meanwhile, chronic inflammation disrupts cellular energy production. Your mitochondria, the power plants of your cells, don't function as efficiently when inflammatory signals are elevated. Your autonomic nervous system, the one we've talked about controlling heart rate and blood pressure, also controls energy allocation. When it's dysfunctional, energy management becomes chaotic. And then there's sleep. Even if you're sleeping enough hours, the quality of that sleep may be compromised. Pain wakes you. Dryness wakes you. Autonomic irregularities disrupt deep sleep stages. The result is a body running on empty, with no way to fill the tank. Let me ask you something else. Do you have to carefully ration your energy? Do you think of your energy as a limited resource that must be strategically allocated? Do you cancel plans because you know you won't have enough to get through them? Do you pay for activities with days of recovery afterward? Have you mourned the life you used to have, the activities you used to do easily that are now impossible? This energy crisis is one of the most disabling aspects of Sjogren's. And it's one of the least visible. You look fine. No one can see that you're running on fumes. Write down 10, if your relationship with energy has fundamentally changed. If you've gone from someone who did things to someone who manages a limited, fragile resource. Test number 11 reveals a problem hiding in your skin. Test 11, the skin texture test. Run your hand along your skin. Your arm, your leg, your torso. What do you feel? Is your skin smooth and supple? Or is it dry, rough, almost like fine sandpaper? Now look at your skin under good lighting. Do you see flaking? Scaling? A texture that looks older than you are? Does your skin itch, not from a rash or allergies, but just from existing? After you shower, does your skin feel tight, uncomfortable, almost painful unless you immediately apply moisturizer? Here's what's happening. The same autoimmune process attacking your lacrimal and salivary glands can attack other glands, including the eccrine sweat glands and the sebaceous glands in your skin. The eccrine glands produce sweat. Without them functioning properly, your skin loses a key mechanism for staying hydrated. The sebaceous glands produce oil. Without adequate oil, your skin's moisture barrier breaks down. Water evaporates from your skin faster than it should. The result is chronically dry skin. Not needs a little lotion dry. More like no amount of moisturizer seems to be enough dry. But it's not just about comfort. Your skin is your largest organ. It's your first line of defense against the outside world. When it becomes compromised, you become more vulnerable to infections, irritation, and delayed wound healing. Some Sjogren's patients develop chronic skin conditions, eczema-like rashes, vasculitic lesions from inflammation of small blood vessels, and increased skin sensitivity to sun exposure. Others notice their wounds take longer to heal. A small cut that should disappear in a few days lingers for weeks. There's another aspect of skin involvement that connects back to what we've discussed. Remember the small fiber nerves? Many of them are in your skin. When those nerves are damaged, skin sensations become abnormal. You might experience itching without any visible cause. You might feel crawling sensations. You might have areas of numbness or hypersensitivity. And here's something many people don't realize. The dryness isn't just on the outside of your body. It's everywhere there are mucous membranes and glands. Women with Sjogren's often experience severe vaginal dryness, leading to pain, increased infections, and significant impact on intimate life. Both men and women can experience dry nasal passages, leading to chronic nosebleeds and crusting. The respiratory tract can become dry, leading to chronic dry cough and increased susceptibility to respiratory infections. If your skin has become a management project, if you have a drawer full of moisturizers, if you dread winter, if showers have become something you have to recover from, this is another sign of systemic glandular failure. Write down 11, if your skin has been telling you that something inside isn't working right. The final test, test number 12, ties everything together. Test 12, the temperature chaos test. This last test reveals something about your autonomic nervous system that connects every symptom we've discussed. Think about your body's temperature regulation. Do you experience inappropriate sweating, either too much sweating without exertion, or inability to sweat even when you're hot? Do certain parts of your body sweat while others stay completely dry? Do you have constant cold hands and feet, even when the rest of you is warm? Do you struggle to regulate your body temperature in different environments? Feeling freezing in air conditioning, overheating in mild warmth? Do you experience sudden flushing, waves of heat washing over you without any clear trigger? Temperature regulation is controlled by your autonomic nervous system. The same system that controls your heart rate, blood pressure, digestion, and dozens of other involuntary functions. In Sjogren's, when small fiber neuropathy affects the autonomic nervous system, temperature regulation becomes chaotic. Here's what can happen. Some people develop hyperhidrosis in certain areas, excessive sweating that seems disconnected from actual body temperature. They might sweat profusely from their face or scalp while the rest of their body remains dry. Others develop anhidrosis, inability to sweat in certain areas. This is dangerous because sweating is how your body prevents overheating. Without adequate sweating, you become vulnerable to heat-related illness. The cold hands and feet? That's called Raynaud's phenomenon, and it's extremely common in Sjogren's. The blood vessels in your extremities overreact to cold or sometimes stress, constricting dramatically and cutting off blood flow. Your fingers might turn white, then blue, then red as blood flow returns. Some Sjogren's patients describe their hands as always being cold, not just in winter, but even in warm rooms. They carry gloves everywhere. They struggle to type because their fingers are too cold to move smoothly. But here's why this matters beyond discomfort. Temperature dysregulation is a red flag that your autonomic nervous system is significantly compromised. And the autonomic nervous system doesn't control just temperature. Remember? It controls your heart rate and blood pressure. It controls your digestion. It influences your sleep quality. It affects blood flow to your brain. It manages your energy distribution. When you see temperature dysregulation, you're seeing evidence that the same nerve damage affecting so many other systems is also affecting this one. Temperature chaos isn't a separate symptom. It's a window into the extent of autonomic involvement in your disease. Write down 12 if your body has forgotten how to maintain a stable temperature, if you're perpetually too hot, too cold, or inexplicably both at once. Synthesis and understanding. Okay. Let's pause. Look at the numbers you've written down. How many of these 12 tests did you recognize in yourself? If you wrote down 1 or 2 numbers, you may be in the earlier stages. Your body is starting to show signs of systemic involvement, but the damage is still relatively limited. If you wrote down 3 to 5 numbers, your Sjogren's has progressed beyond simple gland involvement. Multiple systems in your body are now affected. This is not just dry eyes and dry mouth anymore. If you wrote down 6 to 8 numbers, you are experiencing significant systemic disease. The autoimmune process is affecting your nervous system, your digestive system, your cardiovascular regulation, and your cognitive function. This requires comprehensive management that goes far beyond artificial tears and saliva substitutes. If you wrote down 9 or more numbers, your Sjogren's is in full systemic effect. Nearly every aspect of your physical function has been altered. This level of disease activity demands specialized care, aggressive symptom management, and recognition that you are dealing with a serious, multisystem autoimmune condition. Now here's what I want you to understand. This is not your fault. Sjogren's is an autoimmune disease. Your immune system, which is supposed to protect you, has become confused and is attacking your own body. You didn't cause this. You couldn't have prevented it through better choices or more effort. And the reason it took so long for anyone to recognize what was happening isn't because you're bad at describing symptoms. It's because the medical system often looks at these symptoms in isolation instead of seeing the pattern. The dry eyes go to the ophthalmologist. The dry mouth goes to the dentist. The fatigue gets blamed on depression. The nerve symptoms get dismissed as anxiety. The GI problems get labeled as IBS. The cognitive symptoms get attributed to stress or aging. No one puts it together. No one sees that all of these things are connected. That they are all manifestations of ONE disease process. You are not crazy. You are not imagining this. You are not weak. You are dealing with a serious chronic illness that has been systematically underestimated, underdiagnosed, and undertreated. What this means for you. Knowing the extent of your disease isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to empower you. Because once you understand that these symptoms are all connected, you can advocate for comprehensive care. You can seek out rheumatologists who specialize in Sjogren's, not just lupus or rheumatoid arthritis, but specifically Sjogren's. You can request the tests that actually matter: lip biopsies, Schirmer tests, specific autoantibodies, and small fiber neuropathy evaluations. You can push back when doctors try to address each symptom in isolation without acknowledging the underlying cause. You can find communities of other Sjogren's patients who understand what you're going through and can share strategies that have helped them. You can stop gaslighting yourself. Stop wondering if you're just not trying hard enough. Stop apologizing for not being able to do what you used to do. You have a disease. A real, physical, measurable disease that is affecting your entire body. And with that knowledge comes the possibility of better management, better support, and better quality of life, even if there's no cure. Final call to action. Before you go, I want to hear from you. In the comments below, tell me, which test number surprised you the most? Which symptom have you been experiencing that you didn't realize was connected to Sjogren's? How many of the 12 tests did you recognize in yourself? Your answer might help someone else who's watching this video realize they are not alone. That they are not imagining things. That what they are feeling is real and it has a name. If this video helped you understand your body better, share it with someone who's struggling. Someone who keeps getting told their symptoms are all in their head. Someone who's been bouncing from doctor to doctor without answers. 7 years is too long to wait for a diagnosis. Subscribe and turn on notifications because I'll be doing more deep dives into the symptoms that doctors miss, the tests that actually matter, and the strategies that help people with autoimmune conditions live better lives. Your body has been trying to tell you something. Now you know how to listen.